In conjunction with the Rensselaer 200 celebration, the Pittsburgh chapter of the Rensselaer Alumni Association is pleased to present Forged by Fire, the story of the Pittsburgh building. We would like to thank Institute archivist Jennifer Monger and her assistant Kelsey Jean O'Brien for their assistance and guidance navigating the Rensselaer digital archives, as well as the hard copy archive files located in the Folsom Library. This presentation would not have been possible without their assistance. Fire, it is often a force for destruction, but it also can be a source for production. Fire played a major role in the evolution of Rensselaer, both as a destructive force that drove the Rensselaer campus from its original location in downtown Troy to the hills where it now resides. And fire was also a productive force that Rensselaer graduates used to drive locomotives, forge iron and steel, and span the country with bridges. As with most stories, it is best to start in the beginning. In 1821, Amos Eaton leased the Old Bank Place in downtown Troy. It was at the corner of River and Middleburg Streets. Rensselaer opened for classes in 1824 in this location. After a brief relocation to the Vander Hayden Mansion between 1834 and 1841, the school returned to the Old Bank Place from 1841 to 1844. After the passing of Amos Eaton in 1844, the Old Bank Place property was claimed by the Amos Eaton estate. The Rensselaer Institute moved to the infant school property. The Institute later constructed a one-story brick laboratory building on the property. In 1862, the Great Troy Fire, started by a locomotive crossing the wooden railroad bridge over the Hudson, destroyed much of downtown Troy, including the entire infant school property. This map, showing the destruction of the Great Troy Fire, shows where the original Institute buildings were located at the corner of 6th and State Street. That was in part of the destruction zone. After the Troy Fire, classes were held in the Vale Building, which is now the President's House of Rensselaer College. This building was located at the southeast corner of Congress and River Streets. Classes were also held in the Troy University Building, which is the large building shown at the top of the hill. The Folsom Library is now located where this building once stood. The main building was the first building constructed specifically for Rensselaer. It was completed in 1864 and served as the main classroom building for the Institute until it was gutted by fire in 1904. Following that fire, the property was donated to Troy, and Troy constructed the approach where this building was located, and the approach was completed in 1907. This photo shows the main building located directly west of 8th Street, with the Troy University building sitting at the top of the hill. As you can see, the downtown area of Troy basically stopped at 8th Street, and the land that proceeded east from there was acquired through multiple purchases in the early 1900s that allowed the campus as we know it today to take shape. John Warren, who was a trustee of the Institute from 1849, donated the property where the main building and the Winslow Labs were constructed. The Winslow Labs were completed in 1866. 3 times the Winslow Labs were partially destroyed by fire in 1884, 1902, and 1904. This 1896 photograph shows the main building prior to the fire that gutted it in 1904. Located immediately to the left of the main building is the Walker Laboratory building. Also, to the right of the main building is the original gymnasium for Rensselaer. On the hillside to the left, Proudfoot Observatory and the Rankin House are shown in the woods. The Rankin property was purchased by the Institute in 1877 to provide for the construction of the Williams Proudfoot Observatory. The property included the Rankin House and a barn. The Rankin House was used to house materials, testing equipment, and instruction space until 1910, when these buildings were removed to construct the Pittsburgh building. In the Troy fire of 1862, the Institute's library as well as the mineral and geological specimens were destroyed in the fire. A new collection was started, and it was housed in the main building for 30 years. At the time, a fireproof building was urged for both the rock collection and the library. At an alumni meeting in Pittsburgh on January 31st, 1889, the gathered graduates pledged the financial support to construct this fireproof building that was to be known as the Alumni Building. At this same alumni meeting in Pittsburgh, New York State geologist James Hall, class of 32, gifted his fossil collection to the Alumni Association. With funding assured, the Alumni Building was completed in 1893 and included space for the library as well as the mineral and fossil collection and space for the trustees and the meeting space. The move from the main building to the Alumni Building for these collections was very timely, as the fire that gutted the main building would occur a decade after the completion of the Alumni Building in downtown Troy. The location of this Alumni Building in downtown Troy, as you will come to see, was very inconvenient to the new buildings on the hill. Yet no written record could be found to justify or explain why this location was selected. These collections from the Alumni Building were relocated to the Pittsburgh Building after it was completed in 1912. Following the main building fire in 1904, the Institute acquired the 10-acre Warren Estate in 1905 to establish a new campus. The first building constructed on this campus was the Carnegie Building. It was completed in 1906 following a $125,000 donation from Andrew Carnegie. This donation was made possible by the number of RPI alumni that were located in the Pittsburgh area and were close associates of Andrew Carnegie, including trustee Robert Hunt of Pittsburgh. Following the fire of 1904 that gutted the main building and the subsequent construction of the Carnegie Building on the hillside, it became clear that the Alumni Building in downtown Troy was in an inconvenient location, especially since the Alumni Building housed the library, the geology department and its associated rock collection, as well as the trustees and administrative offices for the Institute. At that time, the Institute did not have the resources to construct a new administrative building, but it made it known that a new administrative building on campus was a necessary component for the continued growth of the school. In 1909, the Pittsburgh chapter of the Rensselaer Alumni Association pledged $125,000 to construct a new building on campus to replace the Alumni Building and relocate all of its vital operations from downtown to the new campus on the hill. This new building was designed by W.G. Wilkins, class of '79, whose offices were located in Pittsburgh. He donated the design services for the project. Construction for the building was completed in 1912. This is a view from 8th Street of the Pittsburgh building under construction. This is a view of the Pittsburgh building under construction, looking from the winding entrance drive that climbed the hill. This postcard view of the Pittsburgh building following its completion shows that it utilized its hillside location to provide a 5-story structure with natural light on all 5 levels, while providing a main entrance at the mid-level of the building. This provided easy access to both the lower and upper floors. This article from the Pittsburgh Press on June 23, 1912, commented on the completion and dedication of the Pittsburgh building. You will note that Pittsburgh is missing the H in the headline of the article. Pittsburgh people and institutions spelled the city's name both ways, with and without the H. While the federal government formalized the spelling of Pittsburgh including the H in 1911, as you can see from this 1912 newspaper article, it took some time for people to adapt. At the dedication of the building, George Davison of Pittsburgh, Rensselaer class of 1878, spoke extensively about Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Alumni Association, and the people that provided the funding and backing for this building on campus. The student body expressed their appreciation of the Pittsburgh alumni donation in this dedication of the new administration building to be constructed in the transit. As noted, only in the student publication can due acknowledgement be made, and we take this opportunity to say that we, the students, feel the loyalty to Rensselaer, thus expressed by the Pittsburgh alumni, to be the best evidence of the strength of the bonds which hold us together. Friendships formed in the classroom and on the athletic field, maintained as alumni, and devoted to the best interest of Rensselaer. Following the 1909 pledge of funding for this building, the Board of Trustees in 1910 voted to formally name the building the Pittsburgh Building in acknowledgement of the gift that made this building possible. In addition to naming the building the Pittsburgh Building, the trustees also expressed their thanks by establishing a Pittsburgh Scholarship. This scholarship was to be awarded to one student selected by the Pittsburgh Alumni Association each year. The scholarship provided for free tuition and was awarded from 1913 until the 1960s, when the scholarship was discontinued and was incorporated into the Rensselaer Medal Scholarship Program. The Pittsburgh chapter of the Alumni Association acknowledged and accepted the honor of this Pittsburgh Scholarship and administered the awarding of the scholarship throughout its 50-plus years. The first Pittsburgh Scholarship was awarded to a graduate from East Liberty Academy in 1913. These notes of the Board of Trustees in 1910 note the donation by the Pittsburgh Alumni Association of $125,000. $100,000 of this was given by John M. Lockhart from the class of '87 and was paid to the treasurer on December 24, 1909. The balance of the donation was provided by individual members through subscriptions that they pledged to pay over the course of the construction of the building. Also within the notes of the trustees, they said the school owes a debt of gratitude to the Pittsburgh Alumni Association for the gift of this building, which would be difficult to overestimate. From the comments of George Davison at the dedication of the Pittsburgh building. And now, in the name of the Pittsburgh Alumni Association of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, I formally tender to the President of Board of Trustees of the Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute of Troy, New York, this administration and library building. He continued, I congratulate the Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute upon this spirit of loyalty to her interest, which is here expressed. I congratulate the city of Pittsburgh for the distinction she enjoys in being the only city that, outside of her own domain, has to her credit a building on college grounds. The interior view of the fifth floor loft soon after the completion of the Pittsburgh building. This multi-purpose space was used for both instruction, socializing, as well as meeting space. The layout of the Pittsburgh building in 1912 included the open area seen previously on the fifth floor, with the Geology and Mineralogy Department and Museum located on the fourth floor. The main entry level included the President's offices, faculty and trustees' meeting rooms and offices. The basement levels included library stacks and reading areas. This photo shows the lecture room for the Geology Department. This is another view of the wide open assembly room located in the fifth floor loft area of the building. This is the trustee and faculty room located on the main level or mid-level of the building. This view is of the President's office soon after the completion of the Pittsburgh building in 1912. During the early 1900s, the number of students on campus grew substantially. As such, additional classroom buildings and dormitories were constructed. In 1928, the Amos Eaton Hall was completed. At that time, the library stacks and reading rooms were relocated from the Pittsburgh building to the new Amos Eaton Hall. These lower levels of the Pittsburgh building were then converted to additional administrative space for the Institute that was sorely needed as the school, student, faculty, administration grew during this time frame. By 1950, the Pittsburgh building was adapted again. After the library was relocated to Amos Eaton, the lower two levels were converted to administrative space, including the comptroller, payroll, public relations, and a very small IBM room, the first computer room on campus. The President's office and the trustee conference room were relocated to the fourth floor, as the main entry level was devoted to admissions, the dean of students, and the registrar. The top level of the building was home to the mineralogy and geology lab as well as the museum. This was formerly the open loft area of the building. By 1964, the geology department, labs, museum, and classrooms had been relocated to other campus buildings. At that time, the entire Pittsburgh building was then devoted to administrative support spaces. The sub-basement held the Dean of Students' office with an at-grade entrance on the 8th Street elevation. The basement included a larger IBM room, payroll, controller, and printing area. The first floor at the main entry included admissions and the registrar. The former geology space on the second floor became the graduate school and faculty dean's offices. The third floor open loft was converted to office support spaces, including alumni, development, and the trustees' offices. This slide of the sub-basement floor plan in 1964 highlights the Dean of Students' offices, the waiting room, and their exterior entrance located on the west side of the building. The basement level, also known as the second level, included a larger IBM room than was in place in the 50s. This level also included the financial services departments of the Institute. This main level of the building in 1964 included the admissions office as well as the registrar's office and their adjoining support spaces. A level above the main level, which was both the second floor and the fourth floor, included a large conference room that was utilized by the trustees as well as the Institute for faculty and administrative meetings. The office of the president was located at this level, as well as the dean of the graduate school and other support spaces. By 1964, the open loft on the top of the building had been replaced by a series of office and conference rooms that supported the ongoing administrative needs of the school. In 1998, a complete renovation of the building was completed, and the Lally School of Management and Technology now occupies the entire building. The renovation transformed one of the oldest buildings on campus into a technology-intensive teaching and research center. This project was completed by Lee Harris Pomeroy Associates. He was the class of 1954. An interior view of the building following its renovations in the late 90s. Quite a difference from the open loft in 1912. 112 years after the Pittsburgh building was first opened as the administration building and library for the campus, it has changed over time, but still stands as a significant component of the school and the community. The natural light on all floors of the building was an important component when it was first constructed in 1912, and as you can see from these current pictures, it is still a main design feature of the building. This 1909 campus map shows the rapid expansion of the school up the hill following the main building fire of 1904. This map shows the Rankin House, which is where the Pittsburgh building was soon to be constructed, as well as the recently completed Carnegie building. The Russell Sage Laboratory and Walker Labs were also completed in the early 1900s. By 1925, the campus had extended all the way to 15th Street. The Russell Sage Dining Hall, as well as the first components of the quad dorms, had been completed at that time. The 86 athletic field at the center of campus, as well as the 87 gymnasium, were in place. Also, the Troy building had been completed at that time. By 1940, as the campus continued to grow, the dormitories were completed at the quad, as well as upper class dormitories were completed across Sage Avenue. The Ricketts building had been constructed, as well as the Green building, and you can see the location of Amos Eaton Hall and the original Green building and Lally School of Management. 25 years of growth from the completion of the Carnegie building in 1906 to the completion of the Green building in 1931 showed the rapid expansion of the school that occurred after the move from downtown Troy to the Hill. The Pittsburgh building can be seen in the lower left-hand corner of this aerial view of campus taken in 1933. This aerial view of campus in the late 1960s is hanging on the wall of the Folsom Library and can be viewed by students, faculty, staff, and visitors when visiting the library. The story of the Pittsburgh building would not be complete without the history of the Pittsburgh chapter of the Rensselaer Alumni Association also being noted. The Alumni Association of the Institute was established in 1869. Annual meetings of the alumni were held on campus on commencement day. Winter meetings of the Alumni Association were held in larger cities that contained a considerable number of graduates: New York, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Kansas City, Cleveland, Rochester, and Albany. The first general reunion was held in New York in 1881. In 1888, the first local chapter of the Alumni Association was established in Pittsburgh. Other local chapters followed. In 1889, Chicago, 1893, New York, 1911, Rochester, 1911, Eastern New York, Central New York in 1915, Philadelphia in 1918, Buffalo in 1919, Washington, D.C. in 1920. On May 28, 1888, the Pittsburgh chapter of the Rensselaer Alumni Association was organized. This slide shows the original officers of the chapter, as well as other alumni that were in attendance. One of the alumni that you will know from Pittsburgh is George W.G. Ferris, the inventor of the Ferris wheel. These are the original meeting minutes of the organizational meeting held May 11, 1888 in Pittsburgh. The chapter was formally recognized at its following meeting on May 22, 1888. On January 31st and February 1st, 1889, shortly after the Pittsburgh chapter was organized in May of 1888, they hosted the winter reunion for the entire Rensselaer alumni. Prior to this, many annual meetings of the Alumni Association were held in the Pittsburgh area due to the large number of RPI alumni that had settled here. An article from the Pittsburgh Dispatch of January 27, 1889, noting the upcoming RPI alumni reunion, noting the attendees as well as the planned train trips and tours of the Pittsburgh area that were included in this alumni gathering. This shows an update to the Constitution of the Pittsburgh chapter that occurred on November 20th, 1899. At that time, Section 1 of the membership chapter noted that any person of good character connected to Rensselaer Polytechnic shall be eligible for membership. This change in the Constitution was brought about by the large number of Pittsburgh engineers and educators that considered Rensselaer to be the epitome of engineering education in the United States at that time. It should be noted that the Carnegie Institute did not open its doors until 1905. These are the Pittsburgh Alumni Association minutes of November 1911. While the Carnegie Institute opened its doors in 1905, by 1911 there was a fierce football rivalry between these two engineering institutions. Not only was the football score noted in the minutes of the alumni meeting, but various newspaper articles highlighted this football rivalry in both the Pittsburgh papers as well as the Troy papers of the time. This commentary from George Davison at the dedication of the Pittsburgh building. From the beginning of its great career, that city, Pittsburgh, has recognized the claims of the Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute to being the foremost engineering school, and for over 50 years it has been sending its young men here for the advanced learning and technical training that was so necessary to it maintaining its reputation as the greatest manufacturing community of any age. With their studies ended, they returned home, fully equipped for the strenuous life that lay before them. They hung their banners on the outer walls that all might know that the spirit of Rensselaer was at work within. Today, they have come back to the scenes of their college days, and that the love they bear, their alma mater, might take an imperishable form. They have erected this beautiful building, and upon its face they have carved that other name so dear to them, the name of their home city, Pittsburgh. Thus, in one act, they gracefully acknowledge their indebtedness to the institution which furnished them their knowledge, and to the city that gave them their opportunity to use it to advantage. Continuing the commentary from the dedication of the Pittsburgh building, Mr. Davison noted, outside of New York State, perhaps no section of our country is so strong in numbers of RPI men as Western Pennsylvania. Continued commentary from George Davison at the dedication of the Pittsburgh building included, this testimonial is intended to withstand the ravages of time, long after those who have contributed to it shall have passed to the great beyond. Their voices will speak to that great student body, who in the generations to come will seek knowledge here. The Pittsburgh Press of February 1929 noted the following. Long before the bounty of Andrew Carnegie gave Pittsburgh the great institute bearing his name, it was necessary for Pittsburgh boys desiring technical education to get it outside of Pittsburgh, and many of them turned to the famous Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute of Troy. The Pittsburgh Press, February 4, 1929, included an article noting some of the attendees at the annual Alumni Association meeting hosted in Pittsburgh. This photo of the Alumni Association gathering in Pittsburgh was included in the Pittsburgh Press on February 17, 1929. Thank you for taking the time to view our history of the Pittsburgh building as well as the Pittsburgh Alumni Association. This concludes our presentation.